So, last week I told you I was a fan of Ozempic, under the right circumstances, with the right structure around it. And someone slid into my Instagram DMs and wrote, "Bro, you're a strength coach, not a pharmacist." And you are correct. I am not a pharmacist, which is exactly why my clients are not winging it on a prescription and a prayer. Welcome back, everybody. This is Chris Marzarella, and this is the Power Building 365 podcast. Last week, we covered what GLP-1 drugs actually are. We talked about the research on muscle loss. We talked about my client, the warrior who graduated with her degree in political science after everything she went through, and she did go through a lot. Her dad, one of my closest friends, who got his self-image back. And I told you exactly why I'm a fan of this drug when it is used correctly. Today, we are going to go into the work, the actual coaching framework. What you do nutritionally when a client walks in on semaglutide. How you calculate their energy needs. How you set up their macros. And regardless of whether someone is on GLP-1 or not. How you handle the real life situations that derail people. And what happens to the body when the drug eventually stops or is no longer needed. Because that is where most people lose everything they worked for. This is the episode you sent to somebody who is on the drug right now and has no idea what they're eating. Let's get into it. All right. Before I go into the framework, I want to address something quickly and then we are moving on. There is still stigma in the fitness industry around GLP-1 clients. Some coaches don't even want to touch it. They see the drug and they disengage. I understand the hesitation. I don't share it. A client who comes to you on semaglutide is a client who is already motivated enough to make a significant change in their life. Your job is to make sure that change actually sticks. That is the whole conversation. Now we move on. The first thing I do with any client, GLP-1 or not, is figure out their energy baseline. And the tool I use for that is the Mifflin-St. Jeor equation. I hope I'm saying that right. I usually murder names. And this is how we calculate basal metabolic rate, your BMR. BMR is the number of calories your body burns just to keep you alive. Not to move, not to train, not to get off the couch and walk to the refrigerator. Just to breathe. Pump blood, regulate your body temperature, keep every single biological system running while you are laying completely still. That number is the foundation of every nutrition conversation I have. And most coaches skip it entirely. They hand a meal plan to someone, tell them to eat 6 times a day, say avoid processed food, avoid bread. God, I hate that one. And they send them out the door. That is not coaching. That is guessing with authority. Here's the equation. And I hate math and I hate algebra. So I'm just going to run it through once and I'm going to put it on the show notes and it'll be on a separate page of my website so that you guys can figure it out. Well, not figure it out. It'll do all the work for you, but it's going to you just plug in the numbers and you're good to go. Now, for women, BMR equals 10 times your body weight in kilograms, plus 6.25 times your height in centimeters, minus 5 times your age, minus 161. For men, same formula exactly, but instead of subtracting 161 at the end, you add positive 5. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Chris, that's a lot of math. And I don't disagree. I hate math. So, Like I said, I built a free calculator on my website at powerbuilding365.com. And it does every single piece of this for you. You put in your age, your weight, your height, your activity level, and your goal. It'll spit out your BMR. Your TDEE, your daily calorie target. Wow, mouthful and it's all mixed up. So your daily calorie target rate and your full macro breakdown for all three macronutrients, the protein, carbs, and fats. Go use it after the episode. But I'm going to walk you through the math right now anyway, because I want you to understand what the numbers mean, not just what they are. All right, let's say we have a 45-year-old woman who weighs 200 pounds. She's 5'5". She is on semaglutide. She came to me 2 weeks ago and she has no structured nutrition plan. She's eating less because the drug is suppressing her appetite, but she has no idea if what she's eating is actually serving her goals. So first we convert to metric. 200 pounds divided by 2.2 equals approximately 90.7 kilograms. 5'5" converts to, I think, 165 centimeters. Now we run the numbers. 10 times 90.7 equals 907. 6.25 times 165 equals 1,031. 5 times 45 equals 225. So we have 907 plus 1,031 minus 225 minus 161. And that gives us a BMR of approximately 1,552 calories a day. That's what our body needs just to exist. Not to train, not to walk around, just to stay alive. Now, we take that number and multiply it by an activity multiplier to arrive at her TDEE, total daily energy expenditure. If she is lightly active, training 2 to 3 times a week, we use a multiplier of 1.375. That's 1,552 times 1.375. That gives us a TDEE of approximately 2,134 calories. That is the number of calories she needs every single day to maintain her current body weight. Now, to lose body fat, we need to create a deficit below that number. I'll typically start clients at maybe 250 all the way up to 500 calories below TDEE, which puts her daily target somewhere around between 1,600 and 1,800 calories, not 900, not 1,200, not starvation, a real, sustainable, measurable caloric deficit that her body can actually function inside of. Now, let me tell you how this fits into the Power Building 365 system specifically, because this isn't something I invented for GLP-1 clients. This is the foundation of how I approach nutrition for every client across every training block in the P365 methodology. The P365 system is built around the two-step nutrition approach. Step 1 is the TDEE calculation, using the equation exactly as I just walked you through. That gives us the energy baseline, the number we are working from. Step 2 is macro tracking. Not a meal plan, not a list of approved and forbidden foods, macro tracking. Because macro tracking teaches you to understand food, not fear it, not worship it. I want you guys to have a healthier relationship with food. And in the P365 system, every training block has a nutrition component built around this framework. A fat loss block operates at a caloric deficit. A hypertrophy block operates at or slightly above maintenance. A mass gaining block operates in a controlled surplus. But in every single block, the foundation is the same. You know your TDEE, you know your macros, you track what you eat, and you adjust based on what the data actually tells you, not based on how you feel on a Tuesday morning. When the scale moved half a pound in the wrong direction, here's why that math matters so much for GLP-1 clients specifically. The drug changes your appetites. It quiets the noise, but it doesn't change the math. The math is always the math. And if you do not know your numbers, you are navigating blindly, even with the drug doing half the work for you. The clients of mine on semaglutide are getting the best results, are the ones who went through the P365 nutrition framework first. They know exactly what they need. They track it, they adjust it when the data says adjust, and they don't panic when life gets in the way because they have a system to come back to. After 2 or 3 weeks inside this framework, every client starts asking a different question. They stop asking me what they are allowed to eat because I don't give a shit what people eat as long as you meet your macros. If you go over it, well, then you're screwing yourself. Then they start asking me how to fit what they want to eat into the numbers. That shift right there is the entire point. Now, we set the macros. And I want to make something very clear before we get into the numbers. On a GLP-1 drug, your client is eating less, sometimes significantly less than before, which means every calorie they do consume has to work harder than it ever did. This is not the time for empty nutrition. This is also not the time to hand somebody a forbidden foods list and watch them develop a complicated relationship with bread. Because I am going to say this extremely clearly, and I want every single person listening to this to hear. There are no bad foods. Bread is not bad. Cookies are not bad. Rice is not bad. Pasta is not bad. There is food that fits your macros on a given day, and food that does not fit your macros on a given day. That is the entire conversation. The moment you label food as good or bad, you have created a food fear in your client that is going to outlast the drug. It's going to outlast the coaching relationship and follow them for years. I'm not doing that here. I'm building knowledge for you. We are building autonomy. We are building a relationship with food that doesn't require my supervision at every single meal for the rest of someone's life. Now, the macros. Protein first, always. For a GLP-1 client, I target between 0.7 and 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. For this 200-pound client example, that's about 140 to 200 grams of protein a day. I typically start at 160 and adjust from there. 160 grams of protein equates to 640 calories. Why is protein this critical on GLP-1? Because the data shows that anywhere from 25 to 40% of total weight loss on semaglutide can come from lean mass, not just fat. Protein is the primary nutritional defense against that. The research backs this clearly. The endocrine society, let's start. The endocrine society, I got to get all these words out, I'm sorry. The endocrine society presented data at their 2025 annual meeting showing that higher protein intake may specifically help prevent muscle loss in women and older adults on semaglutide, who are statistically the most at risk. This is not a preference. This is a medical recommendation showing up in peer-reviewed research. Hit your protein every single day. Your fats are second. I target roughly 25 to 35% of total daily calories from dietary fat. For our client, our example client, at approximately 615 calories, 16, one, sorry, 1,650 calories per day. That is about 495 calories from fat, which works out to be roughly 55 grams of fat daily. Fat supports hormone production. It supports joint health. It supports satiety. And on a drug that is already suppressing appetite, dietary fat helps make smaller meals feel genuinely satisfying. Carbohydrates are third. Whatever is left after protein and fats are allocated, that'll go to carbohydrates. In our example, 640 calories from protein, 495 calories from fat. This leaves about 515 calories for carbohydrates. 515 divided by 4 equals about 129 grams of carbohydrates a day. And yes, those carbohydrates can include bread, they can include rice, they can include a cookie after dinner, if the cookie fits your macros. Because the numbers are the system, and the system works when you work the system. Now, here's the part where most coaches lose their clients. Not in the gym, not in the training session, in real life. The situations that have no controlled environment around them. Let me give you 2 examples I use constantly. Client calls me. There's a wedding this weekend. Open bar, Italian food. They're panicking like they're about to defuse a bomb. Here's what I tell them. Eat a light breakfast, eat a light lunch, go to the wedding, be a rational adult, don't drink like a pig, don't eat like a pig. Enjoy the friggin' food. Enjoy the night. Enjoy the people you're with, even though you don't know anyone. I've been to some of those weddings. I hate it. And get back in the gym the next day. You know what actually happens when they follow that advice? Happens to me all the time. They come back in and they have one of their best workouts in weeks because they had real fuel in their body from the night before. That is what a sane relationship with food looks like. Not restriction, not punishment, not guilt. Structure with flexibility built into it. Second scenario, client is traveling for work. 3 days, hotel restaurant every night. No kitchen, no meal prep, same answer. Find the protein source on every menu. Steak, chicken, fish, eggs. Prioritize that above everything else on the plate. Then you eat your vegetables. Then skip the bread if it does not fit. Eat the bread if you want it, and the numbers support it. Don't drink like a pig. Get back on track the moment you land at home. No punishment, no restriction spiral, no 3-day cleanse. Just return to the system, because that is what a system is for. It isn't a perfect path. It's a path you can always find your way back to. Now, I want to talk about what happens when the drug stops, because this is the part of the Ozempic conversation that mainstream media glosses over completely. They show you the before and after, and it's pretty impressive. But they don't show you the 18 months after that. Research out of Cambridge University found that a year after stopping GLP-1 medications, people regain, on average, 60% of the weight they lost. 60% in 12 months. Here's why that happens. And this is important because understanding the mechanism is what gives you the tools to fight it. The drug was suppressing your hunger signals. When the drug leaves your system, those signals come roaring back. Ghrelin, the hormone responsible for driving appetite, actually increases after weight loss. Your body interprets that as a threat and responds by making you hungrier than you were before. Leptin, the hormone that signals fullness and satisfaction, well, that decreases after weight loss. So, you are getting stronger hunger signals and weaker fullness signals at the same time. Without a nutrition system you can understand, without a framework you can operate inside of on your own, you are fighting your own hormones with nothing but willpower. And willpower, I don't care who you are, it's not a long-term strategy. But here's what changes when a coach has done the job correctly. The client knows their TDEE. They know their macros. They know how to track their food. They know how to handle a wedding, a work trip, a birthday dinner without losing their minds on their progress. They have been resistance training constantly. The entire time they were on the drug, they have preserved as much lean tissue as possible through training and adequate protein, which means the resting metabolic rate is meaningfully higher than it would have been if they had just taken the injection and done nothing else. A higher resting metabolic rate means the body burns more calories at rest, which means when hunger returns after stopping the drug, the margin for error is wider. They have more room to work with. That is not a pharmaceutical outcome. That's a coaching outcome. And that is why the Power Building 365 system is doing exactly what it was built to do. Not just getting you results while you're in a structured block, building the knowledge and the physical foundation that keeps those results coming when the block ends, when the drug stops, when motivation dips, when life gets complicated. That system is still there, and so are the results. All right, before I close this out today, I want to tell you guys about two competitions I am extremely proud of to be promoting. If you have been on GLP-1, if you have been putting your body through the work, through resistance training, hitting your protein, building the kind of physique that actually means something, I want you to hear this part carefully. The first show is the OCB South Carolina Classic on June 6, 2026. It's a natural bodybuilding competition run by myself and the OCB, Organization of Competitive Bodybuilders. Drug tested, legit. It's the real thing. This is not a show where you walk out next to people who look like they were assembled in a laboratory. This is a natural competition the way it is supposed to be. If you've been thinking about stepping on stage, or you know somebody who has been talking about it for 5 years and never pulled the trigger, send them this episode. June 6th. Go to my Instagram page on Lift Lab Performance or OCB South Carolina Classic and register. The second show is the OCB Natural Kingdom, July 25th, 2026. Same federation, same standard, two incredible opportunities to compete at a legitimate level in an organization that actually means something. June 6th gives you a little under 12 weeks, if I'm doing the math correctly. July 25th gives you a little bit more runway. The window is open. Go to the website, get registered, and show up. Here is your take-home challenge for the week. Go to PowerBuilding365.com and use the free TDEE calculator I just built. It'll be available on Monday. Put in your numbers, get your BMR, get your TDEE, get your macro targets, and then for 1 week, track everything you eat. Not to judge it, not to panic about it. just to see it, because the number you see at the end of 7 days is going to tell you more about your nutrition than any meal plan I could ever hand you. If you're a coach listening to this, your challenge is to run this calculation for every client you have on GLP-1 right now, today. Not next session, not after the weekend, today. Because you can't build a system for someone else that you have not built for yourself first. I'm going to leave you with this. A prescription can change your appetite. A coach changes what you do with it. I am Chris Marzarella. This is Power Building 365. The calculator will be live tomorrow morning on powerbuilding365.com. Find me on Instagram at powerbuilding365.com. At powerbuilding365 on Instagram. Subscribe, whatever platform you're using, Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Please leave a review if this hits home, and I will see you next week. We are done here.